This is Marcela Alonso, and you're listening to Tanya Tate Presents Skinfluencer Success Podcast.
This is Tanya Tate, Skinfluencer Success. You are listening to Tanya Tate Presents Skinfluencer Success. How can you be in the adult entertainment industry and make money from non-X-rated sources? My guest is a content creator, influencer, and host of Schooled and Sunday Funday. Welcome, Marcela Alonso, to the Skinfluencer Success Podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me today, Tanya.
Thank you for being here. It's great. It's great. I'm so interested to hear all about your story and to hear all about you. But let's get started. Tell everyone, who is Marcela Alonso and how did you get started in the industry?
Well, I started a long time ago, back in the mid 90s. I'm that old. So I started in 1995 and I started stripping in Tampa, Florida. The reason I started stripping, I had a child at 16 years old and I couldn't get a job anywhere else. And it was a bit of survival for me. So it was very different when I started adult entertainment back then. I started stripping. That was my very first job. And I remember there was stripping, there was sex work, there was walking the track, maybe working for a service, which would be on the yellow pages, the strip clubs, and then porn, which seemed to be where I was at in Florida. Like that was something unattainable because of the fact that you would have to go to Los Angeles back then. They would have porn shops with the DVDs and all that. So it was very different. There was no webcam, no phone sex, nothing like it is today. And again, I had a child at a young age and I was having a hard time finding a job. It was very difficult at my age. I actually started when I was 17, going to one club, but then I went to another club once I hit 18. And, I got my own apartment actually at 17 years old, was paying my own rent, taking care of my child. And I wanted to be off welfare at such a young age because it was such a pain back then. And the only way I could really be able to go to school, take care of my daughter, and be off government assistant was to strip at that time. So I first started stripping for many years. And I started in Tampa, and then eventually I moved to Las Vegas in the early 2000. And I was in another club called Crazy Horse 2, which that was my favorite. The two best favorite clubs I worked at were Mons Venus in Tampa, Florida, Crazy Horse 2, which I met Ava Devine there before she ever was Ava Devine. We all know who she is. She's a good friend of mine for over 20 years, but we danced way back when, before she got started. And I remember her journey when she got into mainstream porn. But first I was a stripper for many years, and it took a toll on my body. I had scoliosis real bad. I had spine surgery, and I had to slow stuff down. And I always knew when I first started stripping, hey, this is going to end one day. You know what I'm saying? And all throughout my early adult life, I was either going to college or taking a course of some sort. I was close to a 4-year degree, but I unfortunately didn't finish. I was only 9 hours short. That's a long story why I didn't finish. Had to do something with family and not my daughter. I always tried finding some way to make money. I remember before my youngest was born. Now my youngest is 18 years old. She just turned 18. I started doing eBay, I remember. And I love doing eBay. And I was like, oh, great. Because it was anytime I've made money and it's not in sex work, if it's $1, it feels like $10. It feels like so much more money because it's always been hard for me to cross over because I've been in adult entertainment for so long. I didn't have the job skills. So through the years, I've had to teach myself computer skills, various things. I've just had to be on top of it. I've always been tech savvy. So I remember doing eBay, and I was so excited before my daughter was born. And eBay
What were you selling on eBay?
Oh, believe it or not, I was selling children's toys.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I love Hello Kitty, and I love strawberry shortcake, and then
Oh yeah.
I was selling actually children's toys, and that was before eBay. Is eBay kind of changed? That was the early days of eBay, but I would go down. I was living in Vegas. I would spend $1,000 and make $4,000 to $5,000 in the early days of
Oh
eBay,
wow.
and I was having a very good turnaround, and it was very that was empowering
Yeah.
because the fact that I was doing something else besides sex work made me very, very happy inside. There was times I've tried to get so many jobs outside of sex work and turned down.
Was it because they knew about your sex work, or was it because they didn't see like the history? You know, when you look at your CV and it's like they see gaps in the history where you know that you've been busy doing sex work.
So, to be honest, the early days before I even got into sex work, I received a lot of, I am Hispanic. I received a lot of prejudice, basically not hire me because of my race. I was in Tampa at the time. Yes, it's predominantly Hispanic, but there was times I've been discriminated multiple times. This is the early 90s, and stuff, discrimination happens. So, and it still happens to this day. So I had a very hard time with that. I did go to college. I'm very tech savvy, like I said, but I found that it was just difficult. It wasn't because I was so much in sex work, as people were just wherever I went, it was very, very hard. It was easier for me to go into the club to make my money. So I had my daughter. This was probably 18 years ago. I left Vegas. I went down to Miami. I tried doing real estate, and I tried doing real estate in Miami because I did have some family down there,
Mhm.
half Cuban, half Puerto Rican, and I did good with the rentals, but at the time was the housing crisis. So it was again, I was making money there, but I
Mhm.
found that my niche was doing rentals, but I just wasn't getting support from family that either. They kind of shunned me because of me dancing.
So you're finding a way, you're like you're seeing this discrimination, you're feeling it, and
Oh
you're like,
yes.
you know what, I have to do something, and it's you and your daughter, and that's who you're going to look out
Right.
for. And so then you find a job in sex work, and then the people that you think would be supporting you, they're not open or
Mm-mm.
accepting to it. So it you feeling isolated.
Right. Yeah. Like one time I'm showing my cousin and his soon to be wife a home for sale, and I'm showing them something practical because I know, like, you can't get this big house. And his fiance goes out loud, let's go look at for sale by owners. And it was very heartbreaking. Like, I'm trying to help you guys. I'm showing you something practical. The irony of it, they got a foreclosure later on in their house. So, I was trying to guide them the right way to be more practical. So I stopped doing real estate because at that time, not only was it a housing crisis, like I didn't get the support from my family that was down there. The thing about real estate, it's kind of if you're going to do it, it's kind of still a side hustle. And
Mm,
I just didn't. I didn't want to rip people off. I didn't want to guide people wrong. When I showed people, I would always show people something that was practical instead of something that would be over their head, and people
yeah.
don't want to listen sometimes when buying things. So
They just have this vision in their head, and it's like, "This is what I want," and then you're asking them, "Well, what's your budget?" And, it's like
that's what they yeah, people are you have to when you're buying a home, the best advice I learned from doing real estate, when you buy a home, make sure you buy your home that you're going to live until you die and pass on to your family. That's if that's the best advice. If, let's say, you get a condo, and what I was showing my cousin was a simple condo with 2 bedroom, they could have easily paid it off, and then they could have kept it, rented it out, and then bought the home that they proceeded to buy. Instead, they went for that big home,
yeah.
and now they're living with another family member. So, yeah, and I see the trend with that, with a lot of things. So that's why I didn't really care for real estate, because when you're trying to take care of your client, guide them right, sometimes they don't have the best mind. So I didn't. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let me go back to Vegas. I don't have family supporting me in my decision, so I went back to Vegas. And I was in Vegas, and remember, MySpace got really big. Remember MySpace?
I remember MySpace. I was kind of on it. I got on it just as it was kind of dying. It's
Oh,
like,
real so I got on MySpace in the beginning, and I actually got, like, a big, huge following, and all of a sudden, I was getting it was real good. I was kinda doing glamour photography and getting paid shoots here and there, but I didn't go into porn, at that time or anything. I was getting these shoots, and one day, and I feel like this was like a sign from God or something, one day I get a call to go be in a movie, and I was like, "Oh, let me go to this," and I was dancing at the time. I said, "They're gonna pay me $500, how exciting." So I go to Los Angeles, I'm working on a movie. I was just a background extra, and I happened to meet, a girl who was a stripper, and she told me one thing that was key, and the one thing I was always paying for my health insurance, and it was quite pricey, and if you have children, you're in this business, it was pricey. I remember in Florida, they had some insurance program that actually Hillary Clinton started. And it was like I paid $20 and my daughter was at least covered, but had a good quality insurance. And they had that in Nevada. But I was like, oh my. So I meet this girl and we're all playing porn stars in this movie that the Farley brothers, it was called Hollywood and Vine or something like that. And she goes, yeah, I haven't, this is pre Obama. So before he came into office. So she goes, yeah, I have my health insurance. I got it through SAG. I always play a stripper. And right there, kind of the lights were dinging in my head. I was like, I don't want to play a stripper no more. I'll play a nurse, a teacher, a doctor, whatever I have to do. That is what I'm going to do. So eventually I moved to Los Angeles. Right away, I get my SAG card because I played Octomom in a movie. So I started doing background work, which SAG background work, and I became
yep.
SAG. And I was like, oh wow, that felt more empowering to me than anything else. Right after that, because I still had to dance, couldn't make enough, it was like trying to catch these jobs. I discovered StreamMate in 2011. And
I was on Streamit in 2011. That was a good time.
oh yeah.
So
So
Streammate is a cam platform. So it was
mhm.
before the time of free cam. So did you join it when the guys would come in and they'd look and you'd see them fully clothed, and then they would take you into the paid chat room,
Yes.
and then you would reveal everything and
Yes, yes,
continue.
yes. The good thing about StreamMate in 2011, and I was like, thank God for that. Because I remember there was webcam before that, but I didn't really dabble in it. It was so complicated before that, but I didn't really. I remember a club I worked at, they had an option where there was webcam or whatever, but I remember getting on in 2011 and it was like, I can save money from gas. I can sit home and I can make money. And sometimes I would make as much money as I would make in the club. I would do it once in a while, but this was the issue at the time. My daughter was young. So that was very difficult. And I
It's
realized
quite
like,
tricky.
it's tricky when the children are young. You understand? So you have to like so the only reason I backed out of it at that time was it was very tricky because again, I would have to take her to the babysitter and
Yeah.
then so I if I would do it, I would do it when she was at school, when I was not
Yeah.
working. So I kind of did the three things, but I did walk away from StreamMate because it did get to be like way too much for me. Like that was
It's
the one.
it's juggling, isn't it? When you're a parent, like when you're a mom, it's like, it's for me right now, my son's at school.
Uh-huh.
So, you to shoot the content, to shoot the podcast, he's either at school, he goes out, with the nanny, or there's times when I literally will book a hotel or go
Oh,
to
I've
somebody
done that.
else's
When
location.
my daughter was
Yeah.
her high school year, I was booking because during COVID, she was home all the time, but the hotels here in New York were $80. So I would go there and then because she was, 16, 17 years old, I could go for the day and I would book a whole so I've been through that too, but it was very tricky StreamMate in 2011. Then from there, I ran a bachelor party business that did pretty well in Los Angeles. And again, so eventually in 2017, I came up with Marcela. Before that, I went by a different name for years that was similar to my real name. And the only reason I went to Marcela was I wanted a different name that wasn't a connection with my real name. Yeah, in 2017, I came up with Marcela, and there's something weird inside of me. Something was telling me, go to New York, go to New York, go to New York. And I've had this weird psychic sense. And I went to New York 2019, actually, but it started after I made Marcella, and I didn't understand. I would see pictures of Brooklyn, pictures of New York everywhere. And I'm like, and I received this when I was actually in Vegas before I went to LA. And it's just a weird sense of it's time to move. It's time to move. And I moved. So I moved to New York. Unfortunately, my father passed away in 2019, because here I'm getting older. My back is hurting. My body cannot take dancing. All of a sudden, I discovered all the online. I did the
Mm,
Snapchat. I joined OnlyFans in 2017, and it was
yeah.
cool at first. I'll be honest, I enjoyed the earlier days when I would get a sub. Like those were, woo, I got a sub, nine
God,
ninety
yeah, I
nine.
remember.
The very first day, I remember the Christmas, I think it was 2018. And oh, look, a sub. Like it was great. It was like
People
ding.
subscribe to OnlyFans and you was like super pleased because it was like it really was a new platform at that time, and we were all kind of testing the waters, how is this going to be? How are we going to make our money? What things are we going to be able to do on it?
Yeah. And I
So,
didn't show my face at that point, and what I did is I showed my face on the platform. So I kind of like would hide
ah,
my face on the Twitter, and then they would join. They were so satisfied back then. I kind of like those and then I remember I would get the customs that were I love the customs where put socks on. Oh, another thing I forgot to include, I am a trained dominatrix, and I did that in Los Angeles, and I've actually started way back when. That's another side of me because I'm a truly dominant woman. So that's always like secondhand for me. So I forgot to add that because I had a wonderful mentor named Tara Indiana, who I met in Los Angeles, and she really guided me. When I was back in Los Angeles, I also did night flirts, and I was very good with phone sex. I would make a good
oh,
amount of money.
so
Yeah,
Nightflight was kind of like one of the earlier like
yeah,
phone sex places, wasn't it? Platforms. I was never on Nightflight because I think maybe I started getting into it a little bit after. But for me, I use Sex Panther, so that's
yeah.
that's the platform.
I love Sex Panther. Well, I love it, but now and they couldn't help what happened with the change. Before when we would get the text right to our phone, I missed that aspect, but I know it's not their fault.
So what happened, Sex Panther? The fans and the guys can still use it. They can still reach us. The only difference is that the SMS facility is being taken away, so you can't do it direct to
Yes.
the phone. But you know what? Here's the thing: I always think things change, and I always look at things as a positive way. Like things have changed, and it sometimes it gives us an eye opener to like, hey, maybe we'll have a little bit more time for other things. Maybe it's not as busy, or maybe we just need to educate the fans because there is a way, and I do still get the calls and the video chats. This is all about sharing information. That's why
I
I
love
love this
it. I
podcast.
love
I love
it.
it. I do. So we're going to move forward because I've got so many
Okay.
questions to ask you,
Okay.
and I know you're super excited to tell everyone. So let's move forward. So you're on OnlyFans. So let me ask you a little bit about OnlyFans. So you are on OnlyFans. We've talked about you're on Sex Panther, and is there any other platforms that you're on? Is it Loyal
Current
Fan?
loyal fans, I do have a mini vids, and I have an I want clips, and I've had an I want clips since 2018. And I have a phone line there. Yeah, so I'm on those, and then I have a Playboy centerfolds, but I haven't uploaded in a while, just because you know what I mean. There's a preference of sites.
So how do you decide on your preference? Are you deciding on how much time you spend on each, depending on which one is giving you the most financial return?
Well, Sex Panther, I have some very loyal people from the day that I've joined that are still there, and I have to say I like that. I'm gonna have to learn the notifications too with that because sometimes I miss them, and I get quite upset because I love talking to my fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
I some of them they listen to my podcast and then they give me
Nice.
feedback and I love that. So
Well, do
it's
you know what? Any of our fans that are here right now listening to us, definitely give either of us feedback because
yeah,
we love to hear what you think
yeah.
about our podcast. That is, isn't that like one of the big things? It's like finding out from the fans, from the listeners, what they like, and it helps us to improve,
Well,
to give a better experience.
yeah, I was surprised because I tried making one of my podcasts for adult entertainers, but my fans are enjoying it more. I've noticed. Yeah, like
I,
they
I
and
love.
I like I have a lot of good fans on Sex Panther that are they're behaved too. They're very much gentlemen. There's actually somebody that lives close to me that's a fan of mine and he's so respectful. He doesn't cross any boundaries because I hear some people talk about people that cross boundaries and I love when I talk to him like we'll talk about movies, we'll talk about he listens to my podcast a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah, like some of my fans they're believe it or not, they don't cross some of them I guess because also I'm dominant, they don't cross boundaries so that's a good thing. You know, I'm lucky to have them. Yeah. I have some good people that are just supportive.
I think that there are like a lot of different fans out there. And, for
Mhm.
me and you, because we're like older and, especially with, I am dominant as well, like,
Mhm.
that mummy and I
Yes.
think a lot of fans, gravitate towards us, there's a sexual gratification, of course,
Right.
but there are also guys that want to be there, that just want to talk to us.
Yeah.
I've got a guy that's waiting right now. He messaged me this morning and he wants to hear about my journey and like my diet. And it's a bit of a long story. So I thought, well, you know what? A little bit later on, when I've got a cup of tea, I said to him, I'm going to get down and sit down and talk to you later. So maybe he's going to call me, maybe he's going to text with me, and it's good because we can just pick it up. We can pick the story up. We can pick the conversation up
Right.
and just keep it going. And we have some really great loyal fans, and of course, we have the
Yeah.
fans that just pop in and out, and they're like, "It's a quickie." So the all make up um,
Yes.
that pot
Yeah.
of
And on OnlyFans, I do have loyal fans and I've noticed I've changed up my OnlyFans. I'm doing it way different than a lot of people do. When I started OnlyFans, I was on it and everything, but then I got into the Telegram world and I felt like it was a little bit too toxic, and I pulled away from that community. And I said, you know what? I've been a sex work a long time. I'm going to treat these fans the way I treated when I worked at the club. Like, there would be this guy that maybe he gets one dance, or this guy that goes in the VIP room and that's it, and then he comes back a month. So I started applying what I've always done, how I've kept regulars to my OnlyFans. And I've, like shared the podcast and all that. And I'm seeing more money now. So I keep it pretty simple. I use the voice note. I love using the voice note, the feature the best.
yeah,
And I'll talk to people. Sometimes I'll answer back because it's easier than typing. And I'll be like, hello, welcome, like, so they know it's me. And
yeah,
I've been doing that and trying, and I've even told my audience on OnlyFans, look, I'm going to be as much as authentic as I can. And then I'm even letting them know on my OnlyFans, like, hey, I had a busy day today. Hey, come Friday, I can do, if you guys want a video call, because I love doing video calls.
yeah. Oh, I do.
I love doing video calls. So when I let them know like that, I notice it's working out better because it's just not realistic to be sexting nonstop. It's not realistic to be, and I want to keep them the way I've always kept my regulars through the years. And
Mm.
I think I have one guy since 20, let me think of the year in a minute, maybe 2012.
Wow.
Still, I have
Yeah,
one, yeah, like I have some that long term, not as long as like I've been dancing, because you know what I mean, I danced for a long time, but I have quite a bit of people. Sex Panther, I've noticed I have like the most regulars.
yeah.
But I've even let them know, like, hey, when I'm on, now you're gonna have to show me that, and then I'll have to blast a text so they can know, like, hey, I figured out the notifications.
No, this is great. So what you're doing, you're changing the experience for the fans. You're giving them the time that you have got to give to them,
Right.
and then letting them know. And that's like a really cool idea. It's like, hey guys, I might be busy today, but look, Friday night, I'm going to be home
Mhm.
alone, and like, let's set up some video chat. So it's kind of like letting them know in advance when you're
The
going to be there.
schedule.
Yeah. And kind of keeping it like that for them. So then at least they know when they can kind of get in touch with you.
Yeah.
We're talking about, OnlyFans and these platforms. So, right. So you're doing solo productions
So
for,
I have done collabs before with other ladies. I've done with, like, a lot of, my friends, Sexy Vanessa, I will be doing a collab soon. She's the one that, because we're both Latina and we're both older MILFs, we get the, like, my guys love her, I think, because 'cause we're both well, she's from Argentina. I was born here in the States, though, but they love it when all my guys, "Oh, you got another video?" Like, all the time. So when I collab with her, I notice the most, you know what I mean? There's always that friend that you have that they're always
yeah,
asking about. And of course, they always ask about Ava Devine too. They always ask about her. She's a long-term friend. But yeah, I decided for 2023 a difference because I've been in sex work so long. I've decided if I collab with another female, what I plan on doing, they must be in the adult industry for over 10 years because
mhm,
we are both like-minded in a lot of ways. And I'm finding after the pandemic, a lot of people got into sex work, but the etiquette, the understanding, you know what I mean, that this is a business, or they're new to this, or that, there's a lot of little things. And I just find that my best collabs are with people that are seasoned, like
yeah,
myself.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like we both are like on the same page and it works out. So for 2023, I've decided if I do collab, and also because of the testing, I feel like that's another important thing.
I hear you there. It's like,
Yeah.
I work with a lot of MILFs. I'm literally my phone this morning. I'm setting up shoots. Some of the girls that I love to shoot with, I was sitting down with Sherry DeVille. She said, you know what? When I do collaborations with me, like the fans love it. Like they love MILFs, MILFs, MILFs. And it's so it depends, you know what your fan base likes. And I love it. They like women that are like you. So when you're with women that are like you, it's like the double prize
Well,
that
they
they
love because I'm Spanish. They love it when I'm with a Spanish girl.
yeah,
So that's why, like Vanessa, like, sexy Vanessa, for instance, like she's like, "Oh, do you want to shoot? I'm going to be in New York next week." I go, "Yes, fine. Let me know the day."
yeah,
Like that. And because I probably have done the most videos with her. I've got so many. And I have guys that buy every single video with me and her. So it's
nice.
for me, not only do I have to find a mouth, but she has to be
It's fine. Well, here's the thing, you know what sells for your audience. And so the
yeah,
people that are listening, the fans want to know, find out from the fans what do they like. And
right,
sometimes you can tell what they like by that button being
right.
clicked. Watch,
Yes.
watch, 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 watch. And you're like, okay, I know. So it's finding out what sells for you and sticking to that. I mean, sometimes we can try different things, but sometimes if you've only got limited time and you know what sells for your fans, is do the things that sells for your fans.
Right,
Make
right,
content
exactly.
that
Yeah.
you know that they're going to want to unlock, they're going to want to open.
Mhm,
So I want to talk to you about your podcast. So you have two
mhm.
podcasts. So tell us a little bit about what the podcasts are and how you got started with them.
Okay. So first I'll start with my vanilla podcast. Sunday Funday. I started on IG. I started getting paid a long time ago, and Lainey Spicer, my publicist, I told her, I go, "Hey, this is over like a year and a half ago. Instagram offered me something called bonuses, and if I went live." So all of a sudden I said, "Oh, Lainey, they offered me money if I go live." She goes, "Well, why don't you make a show?" So I started on Instagram making a show called Sunday Fun Day. And I had various guests, but then I realized, Instagram is very risky. It was great, those bonuses, Instagram great. I made like a total of 3 grand the first 2 months. And I was like,
Wow,
wow,
nice. That's
this
nice.
is unheard of. Like, people are losing their IGs. What the hell? It was just a small little few. They gave it to certain people, but I remember I made like the first 2 months.
I had,
Oh, you
I
got
had,
it?
I got it. until they cut me off. They just deleted me
Oh,
from the
okay.
platform. But that's yeah, that we've
Yeah,
moved on since then. But yeah,
yeah.
I guess they give it to some certain accounts, maybe certain accounts with big interactions or big followers.
Right. So they gave me that, and I did a little show. But I noticed I couldn't. Certain guests would get me in trouble, and some guests they would do nothing in the world, and bec-
Because of
because of
their
their off pay.
name.
Yeah, I
Tanya
so
Tate. Get it
certain
off.
like I couldn't get live, so I had to tell Lainey, I can't have like. So then I was like, Lainey, I can only do comedians. I can't have no like I can't take the risk because I would see little issue. Like I even lost my monetization for one whole week. It was unfortunate. I still saw problems on my IG. And I said, you know what? This isn't because then I lost that big bonus money. I go, this isn't profitable. Let me go and do a podcast. So what I did is I rented a studio here in New York, a big studio, and I started interviewing different comics, new stand-up comedians. I love comedy. I'm not a music person. I never was really into music. I love comedians a lot because I danced for so long. I don't like loud music all the time and everything, but I love comedy. I love to laugh. I love to enjoy myself. So it's called Marcela Alonso Sunday Funday podcast. I have stand-up comedians, and recently I have branched off to like not just New York stand-up comics, but comics in LA, and I got a comic actually in Miami this week that's going to be on, and then next week I'm getting somebody that I personally look up to. I'm looking to interview somebody that's actually in Puerto Rico, a comic there, and eventually I'm going to go back into studio with that. So that is like my vanilla project, and in a way it keeps me connected to the because I'm also with SAG aftra. It keeps me connected to that world of the other world that I make money because a lot of those comedians are actors too, or they're writers. So it kind of keeps me in my vanilla world.
Do you get opportunities to get paid gigs through being in touch with the comedians?
Not really. I have gotten like an audition or two. Last year I got my SAG insurance, which was like a big deal for me because wow, I got my insurance. And I do work background in New York City to keep my I basically work it to keep my insurance because what I made in SAG is not even what I paid in taxes. I was like I work
Yeah.
to pay my taxes, unfortunately. But I have my health care and for my whole family. So that's good at an affordable price.
So
So,
sometimes there's different benefits for doing different things. And even though, like you say, it might not be so profitable, you're getting the benefits of
right.
keeping your
And
SAG
also
insurance.
I have 5 years vested in with SAG, so I would like to get 10 years vested in so I could get the pension. That's
Nice.
another goal of mine. Yeah, because I didn't get it all those years at work in the pole. That's what I always tell family. I'm like, because my mother was a social worker, my grandparents were sick. I said, look, I tried to tell my grand, they're older. I go, listen to my mom. She knows she's social work. All I know is the pole. Okay, like in Hollywood, that's all I know. So because I was working on the pole, I was never to get those benefits. So it's a very big deal for me. I'm very happy to get, even though the money I make goes paying taxes, especially living here in New York. But I'm very grateful to have that. I am keeping that. And then I am on IMDb under Marcela Alonso, and I put myself as director and producer. So that was a big deal for me as well, because I want stuff that is vanilla for me. So I could share with my children, I could share
That's
with
an
my family.
idea.
Yeah.
Check him. You've just given me an idea. Checking my IMDb to see if I've got these podcasts on. I think I
You
need to
can
put.
put it on there. So I'm actually doing it with the comedy one because ideally I would love to be a director and I would love to be a producer. I even though I have a SAG card, like, hey, if somebody wants to offer me a day player, I'm cool, I'm down. But do I want to be, do I want to go be on a series regular? That's a full-time commitment. You know what I'm saying? So I'll be happy to be a day player. The rate's 1,000 a day to go past the sugar. in SAG. So,
That's nice.
or
So
it's 1,200 now. Yeah, it's
I
12.
want to ask you, let's talk about your other podcasts as well. So
Mhm.
you've got,
The spicy one now, because there's two sides of me. I'm a Gemini. Get Schooled. What I decided, because I listen to a lot of podcasts and I've seen a lot of podcasts, and I personally didn't like sex work being sensationalized because of the fact that, I've been in sex work a long time. It does something to you after a while. It's hard for me to have friends that are not in sex work. It's very, very
mm,
difficult for me to have friends that are civilians, vanillas, squares. I say different terms because on Get Schooled, all different forms of sex work, we say different words for civilians. And I started seeing all these articles, these podcasts, different things happening in the sex worker world, but nobody is talking about the long-term effects. Nobody's talking about the reality of sex work. A lot of people came in with blinders and during the pandemic, and all they know is OnlyFans, and they think that's the only thing, but there's other ways. So
yeah,
what I've done with Get Schooled is I'm trying to bring every form of sex work onto my podcast. So, for instance, this week I'm going to have Amy Taylor, who is a companion out of LA. I'm going to be interviewing some. I had my mentor Tara Indiana, who is a BDSM educator. I
mm,
have had Brittany Andrews on, who is one of the smartest women I know. She's a genius, Brittany. Yeah,
yeah.
she's very smart.
I've met her. She's very nice.
It's a wealth of information of all forms of
Mhm.
sex work, and I'm trying, because this is the thing with Get Schooled, we're all under the umbrella of sex work. So, sometimes I've seen people like, oh, they do this, they meet people in person, or they're shunning the other person. Oh, they just do this. They're doing all of this. So I wanted to kind of like educate the public and educate, and I'm surprised with the amount of downloads I get each week and the people have on. So it's really interesting. But another thing I wanted to do with this podcast, I didn't want to put it on YouTube. The reason being, I have found so many people are so impressionable. They see something on YouTube, they see an article, they see something, and there's always a young child that thinks, oh, I'm going to get into this and I'm going to make all this money and life is going to be roses. And I
It's
really only
not.
want an adult audience to listen to it.
Mhm.
So if I do get the audio, I think I'm either going to eventually do Patreon. My fans have requested it on OnlyFans. I might drop the like my good friend Ava Devine. She did an excellent episode about sobriety, and it was one of the first episodes because she's a very close friend of mine that I had her on. So I really wanted to educate the public, because educate the public first. We come in it because we are willing to do it. We are not forced into it.
Yeah, that is a really big point, that because there are a lot of people and platforms and places and information out there. Like, people come into this industry, like, as in every industry, like someone's doing a job that they don't want to do. That's a fact. But doesn't mean everyone's there doing a job that they don't want to do. For us, we are here, we come willing, we do the things that we want to do. And I think that's great that you're out there, like, educating the public and letting them
Right.
know, these are people on these are the different parts of sex work, and this
Mhm.
is, more of an insight into it.
Right, right. So that's what I want to do, but I also want to keep it audio and keep the visual under a paid platform or something to make sure nobody under 18. I've met girls that have told me, "Oh, I saw, this person and they talked about how much money I made," or with articles going on right during the pandemic, I saw an increase of and nothing wrong if people need to do it, but they're coming in with a lot of idea. They don't really realize the long-term effects and it of sex work. It's relationships, it's friendships that get involved. Your children also, get involved too.
I wanted to talk to you about your children, actually, because you spoke about your daughter and
Mhm.
the challenges, and I love that we've talked, because this is about overcoming challenges, being
Yes.
successful. So
Yes.
talk to us a little bit about, I know that you're involved in a documentary
Mhm.
for NB, can't even, the American channel.
Oh,
I'm
I
so
worked on
British. I'm so
Lone
thank
Wolves,
you.
which is Peacock. So my daughter, my oldest child, who I always tell her, "You got me when I was good and young and fresh on the pole," because I like she had ADD growing up. For instance, they wanted to keep her an extra year in kindergarten, and I said no. I was like, "She's gonna graduate and watch, she's gonna go to college." And
Yeah.
I made sure she went to college, and I didn't know she was going to go to grad school. So she goes to grad school. She inquired. I actually prepared the first 4 years. I took care of. I actually invested in a program in Florida called Florida Prepaid College, which was great. Every state should have it. I don't think they have it anymore, but her first 4 years were taken care of. She graduated from Catholic school. She had a very good education. I would pay for tutors, pay for everything. Then she went to grad school. Okay, great. You went to grad school. She accumulated some debt. Now, grad school is not enough. She's going to law school. So,
Nice.
and I've had to, it's been a challenge with her. She's kind of had to take like less classes each term because of the ADD. She does have a note from, she goes, "Mom, I still have the note from the second grade psychologist." So, like, when children have ADD, you take them to the school psychologist. They get a note. They can always take the test. They can stay in and take tests longer. So, if
Yeah.
anybody has children that have difficulties, please see a school psychology. I remember back then I paid 200. It's the best investment for your children and for their future.
I think they've actually changed it since then.
Uh-huh.
It's definitely felt like California. They have things like individual education plans. So if you know, and
The
the
IEPs,
yeah, the
yes.
IEPs and you know, it's you go, you get assessed, you get the official
Mhm.
diagnosis, and then you can go to the school. You can the insurance
Oh.
cover a lot of there's a lot of stuff because I'm obviously a mom and I get to speak to a lot of parents, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of great stuff available. And you are right, you know, if they get the individual education plan, that allows for things like what you just said for people with ADD. They can, you know, get extra time for the tests. And
right.
this plan follows them throughout their school, throughout
Yeah,
their
she has been
education.
using the same form since she was in second grade, all throughout college. She kind of reads over stuff and all my legal work now for me.
Nice.
So that's good. Like I did have one time I was with a company and they were trying to get me to sell a product, like a sex toy or something. And I had her read the document. I said, "Can you read this for me, this paperwork?" And she goes, "Mom, listen, if you like," she pointed something out very well. She goes, "If you even like a post, let's say you like another influencer and they happen to have a sex toy, they can get back all the money." She goes, "Do not do this." So she
Oh, wow.
warned me. She looked through the paperwork. And then I learned, like, if you have an Instagram, you don't even want to post that you have a sex toy. I learned that this first she pointed out the error, like they could easily ask for the money back. She goes, "Mom, this isn't worth it." And so I pulled out right away, and I said, "This isn't a good thing." And then I learned, from Kelly Roberts, don't even dare sell a sex. Kelly Roberts, if you know who she is, she has a wealth of information too. She
Yeah.
advised me, do not sell any sex toys on IG. And she was right.
Yeah.
So, thank for my daughter and thank you for Kelly Roberts. So my older daughter is a little bit of the looks over paperwork now for me. She's figured out my
Okay.
life insurance. She's figured out like it comes in handy. Everybody needs a lawyer in the family or somebody that's at least studying to be one.
In terms of Instagram, you just mentioned there are some rules and stuff about Instagram, but you've also branded yourself as the spicy social media guru. So tell
Yes.
us a little bit about that. How are you helping other performers?
Well, I'm trying to help performers. They just have to listen. That's the thing.
I'm
They have to
listening. I'm
they
listening.
listen
Come
and
on,
they
teach
follow
me
through.
something,
Well, you
Marcella.
know what, I'll be honest, people that have been in past 10 years, this is why I've chose people like us that we've been around tend to listen better than somebody that just comes in, because what happens is people look at, "Oh, but Madonna's doing it. Cardi B's doing it. This person's doing it." Just because you see a celebrity do something does not mean you are not that celebrity. Bottom line, you are not. You have to, if you have an IG, you have to walk. And unfortunately, IG does target a lot of adult performers, especially porn performers, and it's
Yeah.
very sad. But you do have to think like this: if you have a 10-year-old nephew, what would you want them to see?
Mm.
And that's how your Instagram needs to look. You cannot mention your OnlyFans. You cannot mention these other sites. You have to be very careful. You can't mention OnlyFans, Loyal Fans, and all that. Save that for Twitter or Pornhub. There's a lot of rules and stuff that people have to do, but people have to want to listen and follow through.
Put the analogy in, would your 10-year-old nephew be okay at what you post on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, any of those platforms? You've really got to be super careful. And yet other people are putting stuff up and they can get away with stuff. Celebrities, it's like they put like fingers over the like naked with little fingers covering. It's just tricky in this day and age to
Yeah.
be a sex worker and then to go to other places. Like, I love that you're sharing, you're making the money from Meta, and I love that analogy that you made
Yeah.
from Meta in 1 month and you did
Right.
in Sex Panther.
Right. No, Meta's been very good to me. And I tell people like get on Facebook and they're like, "What? Facebook? Huh?" And I'm like, "Listen, the whole so what's happening with all the social medias, I'm going to tell you what, because I've done my research. I've spent hours on this. So because TikTok became popular, and actually TikTok is not the most social popular website, Facebook is. So all of a sudden Facebook and Instagram, because they're owned with Meta, they had to do something, and that's why they started incorporating short film video. So I still make TikToks. I have like 3 or 4 TikToks only because I use the sound and the video, and I try growing them the best that I can, but it doesn't go out there. It doesn't grow no matter what I do. I recycle those. I put them on YouTube Shorts, and I
Mhm.
put them on Facebook, and I put them on IG Reels. So the day of the picture is kind of gone now. It's now short form video. So that is why Facebook is now paying creators, and they're paying them actually more than what TikTok is.
This is from Marcela Alonso. She's telling you right now,
Yeah.
everyone that's listening, super, super safe for work, stuff that your nephew would watch
Yes.
and put it up, recycle it. Instagram, Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, sorry, Facebook videos, and
Mhm.
also on TikTok. Do you put them on YouTube as well? Because
Yeah,
I know
YouTube Shorts.
YouTube.
I got monetized in 1 month, and I was like, "Yay, I'm on a roll." But I'm not really making money on YouTube. That's anything to brag about. I could like barely buy cat food, but I'm very grateful. I'm happy that I am monetized. But I go ahead and I put the shorts on there because I notice I'm actually gaining better with the shorts than the videos.
Right.
So it's bringing in an audience. Plus, YouTube is in with Google when somebody Googles your name. So, because of the competition with all the social medias, the way it ranks is Facebook is number one, YouTube is actually number two, and number three is Instagram, and then it's TikTok, which is number four.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah, because then under that is Snapchat, which Snapchat does have a pay program. I'm working on my public Snapchat, and it's been a lot of work. Like I had a very big Snapchat before it got deleted. Remember, we were all doing Fan Central. I don't know if you did.
Yeah, I was on
Fan.
Fan Central. We did Snapchat. And I can remember one day trying to figure out, how do I get Snapchat back? Because it was tracked on your phone. So if they delete you couldn't do that. So I literally drove
Right.
to the Starbucks and I took a phone that I'd never logged on. I ended up getting a fan to start it, a girl. She started my Snapchat for me and I kept it on the other phone. And I was like, okay. And I will not log in any other phone because they were tracking your phone. It was connected
Well,
to your
because at
phone.
Snapchat, you're not allowed. Snapchat, in the rules of term of service, you're not allowed to sell adult content whatsoever. But it's great for Snapchat is great for marketing, and it's great to make quick videos. And sometimes make a couple do a couple snaps and make it into a reel. Sometimes, I'll go to a place. It's another good marketing, and there is a way to make money. I really haven't tapped into it too much to make money, because Meta's been so good to me lately.
Yeah,
Meta's been very, very good. My Facebook is 600 over 638,000 or
right,
648,000. I've never paid for promo. That is just for me organically
okay,
posting, never done a share for share or any of that. It's just
nice,
grown. Yeah,
nice.
like that. So, and then I have the fan page, and then I have the regular profile. So I
Nice.
have two of them. And then with an IG, you can attach the Facebook. So
You can
I'm
link them up.
trying to get monetized on the other one because the money was so good last month. I'm in a group with people that are making money. There was a woman, she's on like having her fifth kid, and she makes so much money and she's out with the kids. She's talking about like, oh, my kids like this is the little snack hacks or whatever. So you don't need to, if you're going to do TikTok or if you're going to do that, and let's say you have, you have young children, you don't need it to be, well, you don't want to mix your adult brand, but there's people doing a lot of vanilla stuff on Facebook that are making, and that woman is making so much money showing, oh, when we go out, I have these bags and then I hand out the snacks and like, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that was a good idea. She did, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of like little, there's a lot of people that I've came into that have these vanilla tricks, or there's a woman like she's at it. She got 80 million views, and I think she said she made 40,000 from showing off her RV.
It's so nice. There's so many opportunities out there, and it's about keeping your eyes and ears open and looking for the opportunities that
Right.
arise,
Right.
and
And
taking
you
it.
have
And
to do, because sex work is like a roller coaster. It really is. One day you're up, one day you're down. And I've noticed, I've talked to people that are new in the business. And I remember when I first got on Sex Panther, I told somebody and I go, this is a great site. And they were like, oh no, I don't do that. I only do OnlyFans or whatever. And then now I see they're on Sex Panther and I'm like, why did they shun me when I was on Sex Panther way back when? You know what I mean? So I've always been ahead of the game and I've jumped on different stuff when I see money, because it's all green in the end.
yeah, we all like to make our money, whichever place or platform or way that
Right.
we do it, and it's great. And I love the fact that you've come on, you've shared some of your ideas, you're enticing us, you're giving us inspiration to to get on, and we can't be what we are on the premium platforms on the
Right.
other platforms, so we've got to
Right.
adjust, and there's a way to do it. And Marcela Alonso, you are doing it, you are making money, and this is something that we can all look to work towards.
Right.
Well, Marcela, I really, really appreciate you coming on today into the Tanya Tay Presents Skinfluencer Success podcast. So tell everybody where they can find you online.
They can find me on my Instagram. It is Marcela Sobella. My Facebook is Marcela Sobella. And also, you can find my YouTube, which is Marcela Sobella. If you want to join my OnlyFans, it's ilovemarcela.com, or all of my links, all my social links are at marcelasobella.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
This is Tanya Tate, Skinfluencer Success.